Hi, we're going to solve the 31st May Consortium Sample Question, which was based on quantitative techniques. This is a part of the supplementary material they've been publishing in this in the Telegram channel, official Telegram channel. The link I've shared in the description box below. And this is the 31st May quantitative technique question. And this is based on caselet. And we have seen the caselet questions in sample mock test number 1, sample mock test number 2, sample mock test number 3 as well from CLAT Consortium. Sample mock test number 1 had this question on time, speed, and distance, and we had some questions based on that. Sample mock test number 2 had this question, which is based on linear algebra. Sample mock test number 3 also had a question on linear algebra, which also had this opening stock and sales. And this particular caselet is very similar to that, opening stocks and sales. So in these kind of caselet, there are three things that you have to keep in mind, right? And one thing you have to keep in mind in this kind of question is to be very systematic, which means you have to neatly take all the information that is given and capture the information in a neat format. That's number one. Number two is you have to be careful about the use of variables. When I say careful about the use of variable, is that we don't want to unnecessarily write more and more variables. We will only write those variables that are needed uh, to solve the answer, and we want to reduce the number of variables. What do I say by unnecessary variables and necessary variables? Okay, let's say there are two people, A and B, and there are 100 items, and A receives a certain quantity and B receives the remaining. So A receives a certain quantity and B receives the remaining. One way to look at it is A receives A, B receives Y, and X plus Y should be equal to 100. Here we have used two variables, X and Y. And actually, this was actually not needed at all. Because if A would have received X, B would have received the remaining, which is 100 minus X. The same information can be captured by using just one variable, which is X. And that's something that you should do in these kind of questions. Plus, if we let's say we may start writing variables because we don't have the complete picture, the complete story as we keep on reading. And based on the new information that is given to us in each of these sentences, we want to work in such a manner, we want to reduce the variables. That's something that we should do. The third thing is that the third important piece in this case is the English. When I say the language bit of it, which means we have to carefully read each of the sentence, understand the what the sentence is actually telling us, and capture the right information. So one silly mistake is going to be a huge problem. So if you want to read each sentence once again, understand it very clearly, and spend that extra bit of a couple of seconds, 5 seconds, to get a complete understanding of that particular sentence, and capture the information in the correct manner, we will not make silly mistake, because whatever is a mistake that we make in the beginning, it's going to ruin the complete set. So these are the three things: be systematic, careful about variables, and mind the language. So those would be the three things that you should keep in mind, right? And let's start with the story here. Let's read. Harabare store had an opening stock of X perishable goods with an expiry date of August 2020. The store received new stock with an expiry date of July 2020. At this point in time, we are looking at, okay, that information easy to capture. So we would probably say that opening stock is X and the new stock is Y. But now we have to think of what is the kind of table that we want to use. So what is the kind of table that we want to use? So you might start by capturing information, then you see that based on additional information, you might want to change the table a bit, and ensuring that the information captured is very easy to look, very easy to interpret, right? So in this case, I'm going to capture the information by saying that we have got this stock, and we have got this old stock, and we have got a new stock, and we have got the old stock to be equal to X, X, and the new stock, we don't know the quantity. We are now forced to add a new variable. So this is what I will what I will what I will capture. And then we can probably look at something like a total kind of a stock there. So the total uh, the total stock in this particular case would be equal to x plus y. Right. So that is the first piece of information that we have captured here. So let's do that. Okay. So we have got the information about stock, and let's continue the story. Right. In order to avoid spoilage, the management decided to sell the new stock before the old stock. Perfect. That is easy to interpret. First the new stock and then the old stock. Till the time the new stock gets finishes, then the management sells the old stock. Which means the next piece of information is about the sales. We have to capture that information. Let's capture those information here. There's certain quantity. So let's look at this. A certain quantity of the new stock was sold to the first customer. So we don't know what that the quantity is. Let's just write that to be equal to A. So the first customer here, got certain quantity is sold, which let's capture that and write it as A. Let's write it here as A. Okay, so let's put it as A. Obviously, none of the old stock. Okay, just the new stock. And let's go to the second customer. The story of the second customer. Let's see what is given. And now the second customer's information that is given to us is slightly a long one. And this is probably one of those kind of sentence where you have to be absolutely careful. Keep capturing information one by one. Keep capturing information one by one, and then do the maths towards the end, right? The second customer, the same quantity of the new stock as a previous sale and a certain quantity of the old stock was sold. The same quantity of the new stock as the previous sale, which will be equal to A, which will be equal to A. Let me take the same color. Okay. And certain quantity of old stock was sold. So I have to now have another variable. Already we're dealing with too many variables here. We will have to obviously figure out how to reduce this. There are 4 variables which I don't like. I really at this point of time do not want to write A plus B. I want to work out this variable first and eventually write the total here. Right. That's something that I want to do. And then there is one information that is given because the store ran out of new stock, and that piece of information here is an important information because it helps us in reducing the variable here, right? The store ran out of new stock. The store ran out of new stock. The total number of the thing that is sold here was A plus A, which adds up. This the particular thing adds up to 2A. For it to run out of the stock, which means whatever is initial quantity Y should be equal to 2A, which means Y to us is now equals to Y equals to 2A. Therefore, A is Y by 2. So what it helps us now is to instead of writing A, it is better to write Y by 2 because we are dealing with the same variable Y. So that's what we're going to do here. Chain this here, chain these information that is there, and write it as Y by 2. And we have the first customer is Y by 2, the second customer is Y by 2 as well. Both of them. Okay, now let's look at what has happened the next sentence. The next sentence, again, it's important to interpret this sentence here. Important to interpret this sentence very accurately and capture the information. The same quantity of the old stock was sold to each of the third and the fourth customer as to the second, right? So we have the third and fourth customer. The same quantity of the old stock sold to the second customer, which is B. That is what is being sold to these two customers. That's interpret. Obviously, there is no more stock of the new stock left. Okay, so this is the information that we can capture. The same quantity of the old stock was sold to each of the third and fourth customer as to the second. Perfect. Now we have got variable x, y, and b. So this information that is given here, which also helps us to remove b and put in terms of x or y. Let's see. The total quantity of new stock sold is equal to the total quantity of old stock sold. So what is that? What is that here? The total quantity of new stock sold here is equal to y. The total quantity of new stock sold equal to y is equal to the total quantity of old stock sold, which is add all this up, we get 3 times b, which means we can write b would be equal to y by 3. So in this case, if I write b to be equal to y by 3, b to be equal to y by 3, I think that'll be amazing, because now what we have done is that we have captured all the information that is needed here. We have captured at this point in time all the information that is needed for us to solve the questions, and we have captured in such a manner that we are now dealing with just two variable x and y. We could probably go ahead and make a few inferences here. We could probably say, for example, okay, let's this extend these lines a bit here, and we can probably add. So we could probably say that we can probably write here as the total of the sales. Total sales in this case is equal to y. The total of in this case is also equal to y. That's a total that we can see here. So we can also look at what each customer got. The first customer total is y by 2. The second customer total is y by 3 plus y by 2, which is equal to 5 y by 6. The third customer got y by 3. The fourth customer got 1 by 3. This may or may not be useful, but I'm just capturing that information. The total number of sales is 2 times y. That's the total sales. The total sales is 2 times y. We can also think of what remains. What remains in the old stock, what remains is x, and y got the y. So that will be what remains in this case will be x minus y. So what remains would be x minus y. But with respect to new stock, so nothing remains here. And obviously, what remains in total is also x minus y. And this is here we have captured all the information in some sort of a neat in a very neat table, and that's something that you guys should learn to do. The if you hurry in these kind of questions, and some people say that and not take time to actually capture the information in a very neat manner, you tend to have problem. But you've captured the information in a systematic and a neat format, understanding, minding the language that is given to us, and dealing with variables with the attitude that I don't want to unnecessarily add variables. I'm sure that things should be fine. There is one more thing that we should remember. Say the use information to answer the question below. Any additional information required will be provided in the questions. Now we have seen this time and again with sample test number these tests, a mock test 3 question or mock test 2 question or mock test 1 question. One of the things that I have seen is that these questions 1 by 1.1, 1.2, 1.3. Let's say there are 5 questions based on one particular caselet or one particular question. Any new information or new value given on a certain question. Let's say new information given in question number 1.2. Maybe let's say, for example, the new information gave us a value of x. Okay, I'm taking x an example. Now that information can be used for all the subsequent questions. That information is now valid for all the subsequent questions. So we will look at any additional information given at any question to be a valid information to be used for the subsequent question. That's the one thing that we have to be careful about. Okay, now let's look at each of these questions here. Let's keep this table there. Of the total opening stock, total opening stock, please understand this is the total stock, but the opening stock is just x, right? That's important to look at. So this is our opening stock. I think that will be had an opening stock of x. So we have to be careful there. Of the total opening stock, what fraction remain unsold? Of the total opening stock, which is equal to x, what factor remains is x minus y. So the question is essentially asking total. So the basically so what remains? What remains of the old stock, which is the opening stock, divided by the opening stock, which is dealing with the old one. What remains is x minus y, and the old stock is x. This can be also written as 1 minus y by x. So now you see this y is a new stock and x is the old stock. 1 minus new stock divided by old stock, 1 minus new stock divided by old stock, which is answer choice number C. Let's look at next question here. If 3/4 of the old stock was sold. Now this is information that we will use for subsequent question as well. If 3/4 of the old stock was sold. Uh, so what? So old stocks. Let's capture and what that says. So the sales of old stock would be equal to 3/4 of X. Okay. Now, what is the sales of old stock? The sales of total sales of old stock equal to Y. That gives us information. That gives us information that Y would be equal to 3/4 of X, and this would help us get every single information in just one variable, which is Y or X. Which way you look at it, or everything can be written as in one variable X, which we'll use later. But let's keep this in mind for subsequent. Okay. Sorry. What fraction of the total stock was sold? What fraction of the total stock was sold? So we are looking at therefore, to answer that question, we need total sales divided by the total stock. What fraction of the total stock was sold? What is the total stock? The total sales is 2y. The total sales is equal to 2y, and here this is equal to x plus y. Now this here we can put y equal to 3/4 of x. Y equal to 3/4 x. Let's take numerator 2 times y, 2 times 3/4 of x, 2 times 3/4 of x, and this will get cancelled. That will be 2, so that will be 3 by 2 times x. The numerator becomes 3 by 2 times x divided by the denominator x plus y. What is x plus y? X plus what is y? 3/4 of x. X plus y 3/4 of x. This will become 7 by 4 of x, and this will be 7 by 4 of x. And here we can cancel out this x. We can cancel the numerator 2 there, and so denominator 2 there, and the denominator 2, and by 2, and the 2 goes on top. That will be 6 by eventually becomes 6 divided by 7, and that will be answer to this question. Answer choice number A, which is 6 divided by 7. And we'll keep this information y equal to 3/4 of x in for subsequent question if we have to use that. Okay. Let's look at this question. Quantity of old stock per customer. Old stock per customer. So we already got that information in terms of the same variable. The old stock per customer is y by 3. Each of the customer got y by 3. The quantity is sold per stock by customer is y by 3. Each of the customer got y by the quantity of old stock per customer is y by 3. Quantity of new stock per customer is y by 2. Right. Per customer is y by 2. So y by 2 divided by uh, so y by 3, old stock y by 3 divided by y by 2 is what we need to figure out. Each of the old customer who got the old stock got is y by 3. Each of the new customer who got the new stock, each of the customers who got the new stock got y by 2. So the question needs y by 2 divided by y by 3. You cancel this y out, you take the 2 on top. This will become 2 divided by 3. That will be answer to this question, which is answer choice number B. Let's look at the next question. The next question, we have a lot of stories here. Okay, this story. So this is we have to keep on working again. Okay, working again. But let's see what that story is. So let's start from here. The store received a third stock. So we have a third new stock. So now they have a newest stock. Okay, was thrice the remainder of the old stock. Thrice the remainder of the old stock. What remains of the old stock is x minus y. But we can also use the information, what we can also use the information from the previous question, which is y equals to 3/4 of x. If I take y equal to 3/4 of x, what remains is x minus 3/4 of x. This particular thing, x minus y would be equal to 1/4 of x, correct? 1/4 of x. And we obviously can can get all the values of stuff by changing y equal to 3/4 x. We'll not do that. We'll just look at what the um, what the question is asking. Okay, we'll look at y 1/4 of x. So in this case, we have the third stock is thrice the remainder. The new stock is thrice of 1/4 of x is 3/4 of x. So we need a new table to be created. We have now old stock, and we have the third stock. So let's call the third stock, or the newest one there for this piece of information. If we look at the stock in this particular case. So what now what the stock now. Okay, so we look at now. Okay, the stock now would be equal to this has got x by 4, and this is 3x by 4. Okay, and let's look at the information. This time, the management decided to sell the old stock and the new stock to every alternate customer. Old stock to the new stock for every alternate customer, starting with the old stock. Now it starts with old, then new, then old, then new. That's the story. Okay, that's how it's going to go. And we have to now look at okay, that's a stock information. Now let's look at the information about sales. The information about sales, the same logic. Okay, the same quantity of stock was sold to the four customers. Okay, we have now customer number one, customer number two, customer number three, customer number four, and what is given here, ladies and gentlemen, the same quantity. So let's if I take this to be equal to what is it? Let's put it that like this. Let's say that whatever the total, each of this customer got the same quantity. For example, each of this customer, let's say, got A, this customer got A, the third customer got A, and the fourth customer got A. What we know here is that management decided to sell the old and the new stock to every alternate customer. So the first customer did not get just got the old stock, which should be equal to A. The second customer would have got the new stock, which will be equal to A. That's how the whole thing goes. Uh, and let's look at what has happened with the third customer, right? uh, the same quantity, and this, the important thing here is to deal with this particular sentence, and this is a particular sentence that you have to deal with. And we let's understand what the sentence is. The same quantity of the old quantity of stock was sold to the four customer, with one customer receiving half from the old and half from the new stock, because the store ran out of the old stock. The store would have ran out of the stock with the third customer. That customer received half from the old and half from the new. So the total was A. So this would be A by 2, and this will be A by 2. And the next customer would have received A. So that is information that's here. We can probably look at in this case and say the the total sales, and uh, the total sales here. We can look at some information total sales, but before that, we can actually write, I believe, everything in terms of X. Uh, Look at this, for example. Look at this. It says that the store, in this case, the store ran out. The store ran out of the old stock. The store ran out of the old stock, which means this total quantity here, which would be A plus A by 2, A plus A by 2, which will be equal to 3A by 2. This will be 3A by 2. For it to run out of the old stock, this the 3A by 2 should be equal to X by 4. The 3A by 2 should be equal to X by 4. So here we have this information that this 3A by 2 should be equal to X by 4. Therefore, therefore this can be cancelled, and this will be equal to 2. This will be equal to 2, and therefore what we can write here is that A therefore would be equal to X by 6. A would be equal to X by 6. And if A would be equal to X by 6, I think probably we can change this here, and uh, write those information here. A would be, in this case, equal to X by 6. A would be equal to X by 6. Therefore, A by 2 would be equal to X by 12. A by 2 would be equal to X by 12. Let's put it that way. A would be equal to X by 6, and A by 2 will be equal to X by 12. So we can change that information here. So we have this X by 6, X by 12, oops, sorry, X by 12 and X by 6. And all of these fellows would have got X by 6 each, and X by 6 each. And that's what it is. And the total sales, so let's look at the total sales here. Total sales here would be, for old stock, will be X by 6 plus X by 12. X by 6 plus X by 12 can be written as this. If I multiply this by 2, this by 2, this is would be equal to 3 times X divided by 12. 3 times X divided by 12 will be equal to X by 4. So this total sale will be equal to X by 4. This total sale will be equal to X by 6 plus X by 6 plus X by 12. Okay, so we can write, this is the 2, multiply this by 2, 2x by 12. This is 2x by 12. So which will be 2, 3, 4, 5, 5x by 12. So this third stock is 5x by 12. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is a math that we have to use to answer everything. And let's see what the question has us to do. Okay. The question is asking us the total new stock sold. So the total new stock. So new stock sold. So let me pick another color. Okay. Total new stock sold divided by as a fraction of the total new stock. Uh, the total new stock sold would be equal to, in this particular case, for 5x by 12. The total new stock sold would be equal to 5x by 12. Divided that by the total new stock would be equal to 3x divided by 4. And then if we can cancel stuff out, we can cancel this x out. I believe that we can cancel this 4, and this turn out to be 3, and this essentially will become 5 by 3 divided by 3, or if I take this up with take this up, that will be equal to 5 by 3 into 1 by 3 will be equal to 5 by 9. This actual answer is 5 by 9. But unfortunately, in this particular question, unfortunately, the option is not giving in this format. The option is giving is quantity sold per customer uh, and opening stock. Quantity sold per customer and opening stock. We're looking at that ratio, okay? And quantity sold per customer and opening stock. Quantity sold per customer and opening stock. Okay, so that's kind of that's what you're looking at. This the quantity sold per customer is uh, the and this question is actually not clear. I think they should have better phrase. What quantity are we talking about? We're talking about total quantity sold. We're talking about this quantity sold. So this is kind of vague as a question. I really did not like the way in these options were framed. What is the quantity sold? Are we talking about this quantity? Are we talking about the total quantity? Okay, so yeah. Uh, and so if you treat this total quantity called the sold per customer, we are looking at that this value would be equal to quantity sold per customer is x by 6. Okay, and opening stock would be equal to 3x by 4, right? So that's where we are, right? 3x by 4. So that opening stock is opening stock 3x by 4. Is opening stock, the total stock that is given to us would be equal to uh, the 3x plus x will be 4x by 4. The opening stock is equal to x. I'm not sure how they looked at this case. Just going to treat this as this case and see if we can actually find the answer to this question, right? If we can actually find the answer to the question, I'm sure that they probably made this question in a hurry. They should have probably made it absolutely clear. It makes sense to make it very clear because you've got a lot of stock that is running. We're looking at opening stock here. Opening stock is also this. Now do we have to look at quantity sold per customer? Should we also consider this customer in along with that customer? Too much of issues with the particular question here, right? Uh, Crazy that way. So anyways, this has got some particular value. Okay, some particular value. Each is asking some particular value, and has got a quantity sold per customer in the numerator divided by some particular value and the opening stock. Okay, so we need to, and this should be equal to our 5 by 9, right? This should be equal to 5 by 9, and we know the quantity sold per customer in this case would be x by 6. Quantity sold per customer in this case x by 6. Let's put that value there, and hopefully this works. If it doesn't work, I can't help it. And the opening stock in this case is x. Opening stock in this case is x. Opening stock in this case is x, and this ladies and gentlemen, this particular thing which is our uh, x and x will get cancelled. So there's so whatever is the ratio here, that's the ratio, that is the ratio that I'm interested in, right? That's the ratio that I'm interested in. Let's just call it for the sake of argument, let's call it a and let's call it b. So a by b into this becomes 1 by 6 will be equal to 5 by 9, and therefore this ladies and gentlemen would be equal to uh, uh, Sorry, 2 3s are 6. Okay, let's cancel that. Okay, what am I doing? 2 3s are 6, and this will be 3 3s are 9. You take the 2 on that side, you get A by B. In this case, will be equal to 10 by 3. So 10 times quantity of sold per customer divided by 3, and that will be the answer. But I'm assuming that this question should have been worded much more neatly. That would have been my suggestion. But a lot of people will say that nah, this is very clear. But when I say quantity sold per customer, I'm sure that how do I interpret this? Should I interpret just this for customer or the total customer? They were also customers, right? And and if you were to take so we have to ignore those customers. Okay. And that becomes a very difficult question anyways. Doesn't matter, but we got the answer to that question. Let's look at 1.5. X equal to 120. What is the quantity sold to the fourth customer in 1.4? Which is good. Quantity sold to four customer is X by 6. X by 6. Quantity sold to first customer is X by 6, which means, ladies and gentlemen, we are looking at 120 by 6. That would be equal to 20. And this was a question which was easy. Just that you have the problem that you probably would have is question number 1.4. But apart from that, I'm sure that there should not be any problem in solving any of these questions. So like I told you, ladies and gentlemen, all we have to do is be systematic in an approach, and once they are systematic, we can easily solve these kind of questions. Thank you.